Hello everyone, it's Katrina with 3S Success. If you're watching this, then that's because you're curious about the new navigation and user interface for Jira. If you're brand new to Jira and you've just signed up, then that means you will be in their new navigation as of early 2025. If you're not a new user with Jira, that means these changes are likely rolling out to you as this video is being recorded and released. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a series of videos on basic Jira navigation within this new user interface so that you can get up to speed and help you navigate through these changes. So here I am in the Atlassian community where they've released this page on the new navigation and what's coming up for users in 2025. If you want to take a look at what they've outlined in this document, I'll go ahead and I'll drop the link along with this video. Coming over to Jira though, you'll see that this is the old or the previous user interface. You may still be under this user interface, or if you've just signed up and you're a new user, then your user interface likely looks very different. Here you can see on the previous user interface, they had a navigation bar with all of these different drop-downs on how to access projects, filters, dashboards, teams, plans, assets, apps, and this is where that create button is. They also have a drop-down here for your work, as well as being able to navigate between products here on the left-hand side. So here you can see, this is actually what the new navigation looks like in the new user interface. You'll notice that there is no navigation bar on top here. Instead, they have that search bar and that create button. Over here on the left-hand side, they do still have a widget, but the widget on the left-hand side here essentially replaces that navigation bar that was in the previous user interface that I showed before. And so here, I'll show you between the two. Here, you have the navigation bar with projects filters. And then here in the new UI and user interface, you have, again, your projects. You have one for your filters, you have dashboards, teams, and so they've essentially replaced that navigation bar and left it in this widget here on the left-hand side. If for whatever reason you don't see this widget on the left-hand side, don't panic. There is this little collapse sidebar button here in the top left-hand corner. If you do hit that, it will make that widget disappear. If you reselect that, it will automatically reappear for you. So that's one way that the navigation has changed, and this is how you can navigate the new user interface within Jira. So here you can see with projects, right now I currently have this expanded. If I want to drop it down, you can see that this is just a really nice and concise view for all the different things that I'm looking to navigate to and find within Jira. One of those would be your projects, right? So if you are looking for a specific project, you can hit that project dropdown. And let's say I'm looking for this new product development demo project. If I click on the NPD demo, it'll just collapse it. But underneath it, you'll see that the NPD Scrum board is what's created. And so in order to navigate to a project within Jira, you need to have a board created, whether that's a Scrum board or a Kanban board or both. If you have multiple boards within the project, when you hit that project dropdown, you will see all the boards that reside within that project. And so if I want to access this new product development demo project, I will click into the NPD Scrum board. And here you'll see it'll bring me up to and default to my active sprints. As of right now, I have my active sprints set to be dropped down by and separated by epics. So here you can see group by is listed under epics, and if I expand this prototype A epic, you can see all the tasks that I have underneath it, as well as what status they are in. I can also collapse that, and so you can see that here as well. One thing to note on the active sprints or any board view that you're on, there are a couple of things that can happen. If you click into a task, you can either opt to have that task open up here on the right-hand side of your screen. And here you can scroll, you can add comments, you can look at histories or work logs within this. This is where you can edit it. So you can have that task open up in the side part of your screen. Or if you want to change that view, right, you can hit this little toggle settings icon. And here it says open issues in sidebar. This is what allows the issue that I clicked on to open up on the right-hand side that you just saw. If I deselect that and I close out the view settings, and I go to reopen this, you will see it will now pop up a whole new window with all the specifics pertaining to this particular issue or this particular task. And so this is just one way that you can configure your user interface to suit your specific needs. Me personally, when I'm running a meeting, I like to have that pop up on the sidebar. I don't like to wait for things to really open up in a new window, especially if people are still talking about different tasks while I am typing some updates, right? So again, if you do want to make those changes, all you need to do is hit this view settings icon in the top right-hand corner. And under Open Issue Sidebar, you can go ahead and select that. They also have a setting here for quick filters. So if you have any quick filters created, you can enable that. I will go over quick filters and filters in another video. So if you don't know about them yet, just hang on and we will get there. If you scroll down a little bit further, you can see here that you can also view linked issues, or if I wanted to collapse all of these, if you have quite a bit going on your board view, you can collapse all through the view settings, or you can expand all. And so this is just one way that you can configure, again, your active sprints or your board view to suit your specific need. The other thing that you should know on the board view here is that you can filter by assignee. You can filter by the type of task that you're looking for. These are the quick filters. So if you have quick filters that you have created, or if you want to just look for things assigned to you or recently updated, those are the two default quick filters that come with every Jira project. You can also filter by epic. So if you do just want to view things that are only for example, prototype A in this project or prototype B, you can filter it by just those epics as well. And so this is how you access a project in the new user interface within Jira. So you go to the projects dropdown. You will have to have a board, whether that's a Scrum board or a Kanban board, you will need to have a board underneath that project. And to access the project, you will select that Scrum board and it will default you to your active sprint or your Kanban board, whichever you are working under. The other thing that's very different about this view is how you access all the other things within a Jira project. It used to be that you would access the timeline and the backlog and reports and goals and all these different things that you see here on the top. You used to be able to access them through the sidebar widget. That is not the case anymore. And what's actually really nice about this is before, the widget on the left-hand side, you couldn't customize it to meet your specific needs. What's fantastic about having all of these options here at the top is not only are they containing all your project information in one view, but you can actually customize this view. And I'll show you what I mean here. So let me hide and collapse this sidebar, and let's just focus here on what we have at the top. So as right now, like I said, it defaults to active sprints, but when it comes to using sprints, you often plan your sprints, and in order to plan your sprints, you need a backlog. To access your backlog for a project, you'll hit the backlog button here and on the top of your screen. And now you can see that we are now within the backlog view. The sprint is currently in progress. And here you can see if I collapse that, I have all the remaining issues or tasks on my backlog outlined right here. So here you can still see that there is an epic panel on the left-hand side. You do not need to show the epic panel. As you can see, these tasks belong to prototype A, not prototype B. And if I were to expand this, you could see that this task right here belongs under prototype B as that epic. You do not need to have the epic panel open. I find it helpful because you can click on the epic and then it'll show only things that fall underneath this epic. So it helps you just organize your work and focus on the different things that need to be done for just one aspect of your Jira project. If you don't want to view that, you can simply hit the X here, or under this epic dropdown, it says show epic panel. This is the toggle. You can deselect that or choose to not enable that. And if you want it back, you can just press E on your keyboard as a shortcut. So let me disable this for now. And now you can see that the epic panel has gone away. If I hit E on my keyboard, it automatically returns. And so that's something that's super helpful as a project manager or a scrum master or a team lead or a manager when you are planning sprints for just your team to focus on the work that they need to complete within the next 2 weeks, for example. So we've shown in the new navigation how to navigate to your active sprints or a backlog within a project in Jira. There is also this timeline view. This is very similar to the timelines that were in the previous navigation. You can create a very nice simplified timeline here by just clicking and dragging on where you want things to be completed. So here we can have 2 items created here, and then we can have develop schematics, running in parallel with designing a new component and pulling a new part number. And then we can create that bill of materials. We can work on finalizing the design, finalizing the bill of materials, and manufacturing a prototype, and then shipping against that prototype. So here you can see that's created a very nice timeline in this timeline view. And you can see here that for the Epic, as I started creating timelines and adding start dates and due dates for all of these different child tasks, it automatically lengthened the amount of time for that Epic to be considered complete, right? And so this timeline view is very, very nice. This timeline view is available for anyone that is on the free, standard, or premium, or enterprise. So any of those tiers that you purchase from Atlassian, you will have access to this timeline view. What I will say is this timeline view does not have all of the functionality that their plans do. Now, let me show you what I mean by that. Here, you can see that we are under our timeline, right? So we went from our board and we went to the timeline, and that's how we accessed this timeline. Mind you, this timeline here has less features than their plans do. And I'll go into more depth in that in another one of my videos. But here, if you're looking for plans that have more features, this is where you can find them. And here you can see, if you hit that plans drop down in this left-hand widget, you can hit the create plan button. And then you can name your plan. So let's call this new product development plan. And we'll leave that open. You can either have that open to all users or you can keep that private. I usually keep that private, but this is just my demo project, so I will keep that open for the time being. Here is where you will choose where you want to add your plan to. So for me, I always want to keep my plans in the projects that I'm working on. That's where you enter the project name. You can add a team, which is optional. I usually don't enter a team there unless I really want to. But for now, we're just going to leave this in the new product development demo project, and we're going to call it NPD demo plan. So I'll go ahead and hit create. And now you can see that this plan looks a lot different from the timeline that we saw before. There are a couple of different views that you should be able to see. One is you will default to the list view. Go ahead and select the timeline view here in the top right-hand corner. And here you can see automatically that this timeline looks very different from what we had seen before. I think the biggest call out in the difference here is that you can add and show fields here as well as add filters, and you can do cross project dependency mapping. So if there's another team with another Jira project and you're dependent on them to complete something else, you can do dependency mapping within the plans. Whereas under the timelines, which we access through the Scrum board, you are not able to do cross-project dependency mapping. And so that's something that's very big to consider. But if you have used Jira in the past, timelines, again, has those less features. This is where you will access plans. And again, I'll go into plans versus timelines in more detail in another video. But with the new navigation released in 2025, this is where you will access those more advanced project plans that you can create. And this is where you will access your projects as well through the drop downs here on the widget on the left-hand side. Coming back to some more basic navigation, we've discussed projects, we've discussed plans. The other thing here is dashboards. There used to be a drop down in the top here on the navigation bar for dashboards. Now you can see that dashboards, again, you can access through this widget on the left-hand side. So if you already have a dashboard, you can hit that drop-down. This is where you will see those dashboards. I will go into dashboards in more in depth in another video, but this is where you can see a lot of different reports for dashboards that you create. The other thing with this navigation is filters. Filters are something that's very important within Jira to help you narrow down exactly what it is that you're looking for, or if you want to make bulk changes to some issues. And so here you can see if you hit that filters drop down, there are some default filters that are always automatically created. You can also create filters and look for different issues. So if you hit search issues, this will take you to the filters page. You will automatically be toggled onto this basic search function. This allows you to search by project dropdown, assignee type, created within the last 30 days, and then you can look at some of the other defaults that they allow you to search for with filters. With Premium, you also have access to AI, so if you wanted to use AI to find issues faster, it'll walk you through how to use this, right? Stories in the project, donut planes, updated this month, and then AI will try to find those issues for you. So let's say find issues with parent prototype A. Let's see what it pulls up. Okay, so here you can see that it pulled up prototype B, and then it pulled up prototype A, and then it pulled up this NPD-10. And I'm not too sure what this pulls to. So AI function is relatively new. Again, this didn't pull exactly what I was looking for. And quite frankly, I don't love the basic featuring either. But what I do love is JQL. JQL is Jira Query Language is what that stands for. And it's a combination of Boolean expressions and logic, similar to that of SQL, that you can use to search for different things. So if I wanted parent equals let's see, NPD-1 for prototype A, because that's the unique identifier, NPD-1 for my prototype A epic. Here I can see parent equals NPD-1, and it pulls up prototype A. I go ahead and select that, and I'm going to hit enter. And now you can see it pulls up this list of all of the tasks that have NPD1 or prototype A as their parent. Now, there are a couple different views that you can do here. On the top right-hand side, I'm currently under detail view. There's also a toggle here for list view. I personally prefer list view, but it's just a matter of preference. Detail view, again, gives you all the details of that first issue that populates here, so you can see the entire card. Again, I usually use it to search for multiple issues at once, and in which case I want to see them in the list view. You can add more of these columns here, so you can add or you can remove columns, and you can also reorder the columns in any way that you want. You can also filter and sort by those columns as well. So within this new navigation, this is how you find projects, filters, and plans. And so this is how you find all of those primary things that were in the dropdown. You can find your apps that you have. This is any integrations. You can find your plans that have more features than the timelines. You can access your projects through this widget in the left-hand side. You can access your filters and search for other issues here. You can access dashboards. You can create teams and look at your teams, and you can even customize the sidebar within this new user interface. So if we hit customize, what it does is it pops up this window, and it allows us to really just either hide things that we don't want to see. So if I want to hide teams, I can hide it from the sidebar. I don't want to do that because I like having things there, but I don't really care about what I viewed recently. And so I want to hide that from my sidebar because I know how to find all the things that I'm looking for in Jira, and I'm okay if I just see what I have starred, my apps, my plans. Really, what I'm going to look here for is I want my projects to be a little bit towards the top here. I want my filters to be under there, my dashboards under my filters, and I want my plans up top as well. And then my apps can actually be at the bottom. And so it allows you to organize your sidebar for what it is you use as a user most. And so my sidebar can look different from your sidebar or someone else's sidebar. Coming back to the projects, if you hit that drop down and you go to your board again, the other thing that's cool about the Jira user interface release that they just sent out is that you can customize this as well. And so this is primarily a hardware development team, which means we're not really going to use things like components. So if we go to components, there's an Atlassian product called Compass, which is a new way to work on software components. Because this components feature within Jira is primarily designed for software use, we're not going to use it in this project. And so if I wanted to remove this and declutter this top bar for myself, what I can do is I can hover over the components, hit the ellipses icon that pops up, and you can either move the tab to the left, move the tab to the right, or remove it. I want to remove it because I don't need it in this project. Now you can see that that no longer populates. The other thing here is there are some features that Jira releases for code, like connecting to GitHub, connecting to GitLab, connecting to Bitbucket. Again, this is not a software development team, so a project. So again, this is not a software development project, so I'm going to hit that ellipses icon, and then I'm going to select remove. Similarly here, the release tracking is primarily for managing and tracking software releases. It likely could be used for tracking releases of new versions of hardware, but I'm not going to use it for this project. So again, I'm going to hit that ellipses icon and hit remove. Here is something called archived issues. If you have premium, then you have the ability to archive issues within Jira. What that means is issues that are archived and complete can no longer be edited, but they can be viewed. If you did want to view them, this is where you would view them. I don't care so much about archiving issues, and so I'm going to, again, hit remove. So now you can see that this is looking a lot less cluttered, which is really, really nice. The other thing here is forms. Forms are something that's relatively new within Jira. Forms really actually started in Jira Service Management when people are submitting tickets for IT support or various things like that, and it's newer within Jira Software. I can see use for it in requirements gathering and feature requests. But as of right now, I'm not going to enable that, so if I wanted to remove it, I can just hit this remove button, and now you can see it's removed. If I ever wanted to add any of these things back, all I have to do is hit that plus button and add them back on. All right, now you can see here that we have summary, timeline, backlog, active sprints. We have calendar. So if you did want to view due dates by a calendar view, you can see that here. I personally think this looks cluttered, but I could see the use for different teams depending on what it is that they are looking for. But I'm going to remove calendar view because I don't really like that. Here you can see you can also access reports through here. And so if you do have sprints, you can look at sprint reports, velocity charts, and this is how you access this in the new user interface. Whereas before it was on the left-hand side, you could access it through sprints and through the backlog. I also have the list view here. The list view can be particularly helpful when you're looking at maybe adding time estimates or story point estimates to different tasks within a project, all within one view, so you don't have to click into one task and then update it and then click into another and update it. This really saves your hands from carpal tunnel, and the way that you'll do that is you'll scroll all the way over to the right hand side. You'll hit that plus icon here, and let's type in original estimate. If you're using story points, select story points. If you're using time estimates, select time. You can click and you can drag that column to whatever it is that you want. And so here for product requirements, let's say it takes 12 hours. We can enter that estimate here, and that automatically translates into working days. And so here for project scope and kickoff, let's say that takes 3 hours to prepare and then meet and then scope and agree. And so here you can do those estimates all in one view in those list views. Goals are something else that's relatively new within Jira. Basically, if you come and you select on goals, what this goes over is it allows you to set goals so that your team is aligned on why they're completing this work. If it makes sense for your business and for your line of work, these goals and how these initiatives are strategic for your company, this is where you can add those and tie them to your different projects and your different epics, as you can see here. If you do not want to use goals, you absolutely do not have to. That's probably something I would say if you're newer to Jira to explore down the road. And let's get your feet under you with the more critical functions, which is organizing your work, accessing those timelines or those plans, making sure you understand how to use active sprints, reporting, and filtering. The next item you have here are issues. If you come to issues, this is where, again, you will be able to search for issues within a project. So you can have that basic search, you can do JQL, you can use their AI. If you are in premium, you will have access to AI. I believe if you're standard or free, you will not have access to that. And so this is where you can enter that Jira query language expression to filter exactly what you are looking for. Here you can see something called pages. If you hit pages, this is where you can link things like Confluence, right? If you are using Confluence, this is where you can link them. And then here you have something called shortcuts. And this is where you can add shortcuts so that you can access all the different things that you have. Let's say maybe you have your project documentation in Microsoft Office, right? You have a SharePoint site for all of that. You can add links to your SharePoint site here so that your team can access the SharePoint site for this project directly from the project in Jira through that shortcuts link. All right, just about the only thing that I haven't covered on this navigation portion is summary. Summary is relatively new, but honestly really cool. Summary is basically what they've done is they've taken just a high-level overview of where your project is within Jira. And so here you can see that this is a status overview of all of the issues within Jira. And so for this project, right, for this new product development demo project, you can see that I have 7 issues in to-do, 4 are in progress, and 2 have been marked as complete. And you can see that breakdown over here as well. Here you can see in the last 7 days how many were completed, how many have been updated, how many are due soon, right? So if you have that due date, and how many are overdue if you're past a due date. And so this is a really nice visual. And if anything is within these categories similar to here, you can click on that and it'll open up a list of those items. So you can drill down and see exactly what it's talking about in this to-do backlog here. So same thing goes for these items right here. All the information that they have in the summary view are things that I use to make dashboards for. So the fact that they've created the summary page really means that they've paid attention to what types of things people are looking for within a project. And I think this is an absolutely wonderful added benefit. Scrolling down further, again, you can view types of work. This is something, again, that I used to create dashboards for so that you can see workload distribution by the type of work that you are completing. So here you can see that hardware tasks, 36% of the work goes to hardware. If you look here, just for other tasks, so for example, I believe maybe this would be like a research task or, updating a BOM or finalizing a bill of materials, which is a BOM. The task makes up 18% of the overall workload within this project. You can see that some are sales orders and again, some are project management. So this is a really cool view that shows you the breakdown of issues by their types. And this is why issue types are important because it helps us understand how we're breaking down the work into what different groups or parties they are being assigned to. Here you can see a priority breakdown. So if you have things that have different priorities, it'll show you what the priority of those different things are. So is your team constantly getting things that are critical and high? right? Do we ever have some variety, or is anything ever a low priority, or is everything a high priority and needs to get done ASAP? It's just a very nice view to figure out what general messaging is that's coming through to your team, and if you are in fact having those prioritization discussions on what comes first, second, third, etc., etc. Here you have a team workload chart, so you can see what percentage of the work is assigned to each individual. As of right now, I don't have anything in this demo project assigned to anyone, so everything is under unassigned. But again, this is just a really nice view and something that I use to create a dashboard for, so it's really nice that they've added this summary view. And here you can see epic progress. So as you can see for prototype A, 20% of the work in it is complete. 30% is in project, and 50% needs to be completed, whereas with prototype B, we still need to do all the work for that. And so this is, again, a gadget that I used to create in a dashboard, so it's just wonderful that they have it underneath this summary view now. All right. One of the last things within basic navigation for this new user interface is if you come up to the top here, you can go to your work. The Your Work page is also different than it used to be. You will see your recent projects here, as well as see the boards underneath them. And if you want to view a list of all of the projects within your company, you can go to View All Projects. Note, you may only see the projects that you have access to there. It depends on how your permissions are set up within your company and your Jira org. If you scroll down here, you'll see that this will list anything that you've worked on today. It can also show you what things that you've viewed. It'll show you what items are assigned to you, what items you've starred, and what boards are available. And here you can star some boards that if you just wanted to sign in for your work for the day and just go to your work and access all of your boards through here, once you star them, they will all populate here. All right. This is the new navigation for Jira. Like I said, it is highly customizable, not only here, right, where you can customize your sideboard, but also if you hit that projects dropdown and you go to whatever board it is you're trying to work on, this is also customizable to suit exactly what it is your team needs to focus on.